Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Chat GTM podcast. We are reporting to you live here from the RFIS show. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's a restaurant innovation.
Very close.
Restaurant franchising innovation summit. But we don't do cuts here. You know, I really don't. But perfection is too perfect.
Yes.
I want to have a little bit of flaw in here. And besides, I got something really perfect to talk about with me here today, which is Jeff. Is it Pereira?
Pereira. Yep.
Jeff Pereira. Jeff Pereira is the founder, CEO, and big brains behind Jeff's Bagel Run out of Orlando, Florida, a fast-growing bagel concept that apparently doesn't toast their bagels and has their hill to die on.
Apparently, yes.
Never toasted.
Never toasted.
Never toasted. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's dip into that because I like you said, everybody toasts their bagels. You had a keynote just now that says, yeah, we're not going to do that.
I think most people toast their bagels because they don't have fresh baked bagels near them. They're getting them from the grocery store, or they're getting them from some other well-known brands that have to be toasted because that product is definitely not made throughout the day. It's comes in as like a frozen puck, usually.
Right.
That is slacked, heated, and then reheated again to make it a little more edible.
So basically, they're doing the air fryer version of cooking at home with the bagel in the business.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that have tried to optimize their business and take shortcuts.
Yeah.
Which saves them probably on some labor, maybe saves them in some other cost centers, but they lose the quality, the flavor, the kind of the essence of what the product is.
Love it. All right. So in chat, I'm going to let you jump here in a second. He knows how this goes too.
I got a lot of questions.
I'm raging ADHD. So you have a bagel company and you're some 30 units today across your franchise system?
32 open, yes.
32 open. Fantastic. You opened, I think you said 2022 is when you started?
We started in 2021 with our first location in Ocoee, Florida, which is just outside of Orlando.
Yep.
About 8 months later, we opened our second, and then we started franchising in 2023.
And you started cooking in your home kitchen. And what was the necessity there? What started that?
Yeah, so lost my job in 2019. And my wife went back to work. In that overlap, we were driving like 45 minutes to get like the only decent bagel that was in Orlando.
Yeah.
And she said, "Why don't you just make me a bagel?" It's her favorite food. It's a product that she grew up eating. She's from New York. I'm from New Jersey. Like bagels have been a part of our life for a really long time.
Yeah.
So she was like, "Just make me one." I think she was worried about my mental health. She wanted to make sure I stayed busy now that I was going to be in this new stay-at-home parent role. And it turned out that I became obsessed and wanted to get it right for her. And I really think it's a love story. I mean, ultimately, Jeff's Bagel Run's a love story.
How so?
I made this for her. I didn't really set out to create a business. We didn't set out to open stores. I just set out to make a product for her that, a bagel for her that she loved. And when I did that, it just so happened to be really delicious. And other people liked it as well.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Chad?
So you mentioned your wife grew up with bagels, and bagels have been around a long time. But I'm curious because I don't know the history and where things are now. Where is society now? What's the societal moment around bagels?
Bagels are having a moment. Yeah, there's for sure like this bagel renaissance taking place. I think people have realized that it's a breakfast staple. And in some communities, it hasn't been nearby them at all. Like I think if we want to look at like 2018, 2019, I think we started to see this like trend in sourdough and people started making bread at home. And then COVID really escalated that process and pushed everybody forward. And they had this isolation period. And so they were doing things on their own. And bagels were one of those things that people started doing. I was doing it. There were other brands that were doing it as well. And I think that it coincides with a little bit of this like exodus from major markets, right? People left New York, they left the Northeast, left Philadelphia. Even like listen, LA's got kind of a bagel scene too. People were leaving California, going to other places and filling in the middle of the country. And when you get to the middle, the number of bagel stores like per capita, like per 500,000 people is very, very low. It's very low. Like in the Northeast, it peaks at like 37 shops per like 500,000 people. And in like the middle of the country, Kansas, it's like 1 per 500,000 people, which
opportunity.
It's just a wide open spaces.
Yeah.
And so I think people started filling gaps. Just Bagel Run, I was filling gaps in my community. We didn't have a lot of bagel shops in the Orlando area. People were getting them from the big chains and grocery stores.
Right.
And that was what people knew bagel was. And as you create this fresh baked product that's
the bar is low,
boiled and created just for you, it makes a difference.
And so tell me about that. Like, because people listening or watching aren't going to be able to understand the gooiness, the goodness that happens. When you get the dryer, I mean, I'm
You're so excited. I can see you're like, let's go.
Gonna go. I know there's one in Tampa now. I gotta go.
You're gonna be there.
So yeah, but I get a bagel like we had this on the table this morning, right? Yeah. It's dry, it's cold, a little bit lifeless, so to speak, right?
Easy to skip.
Yeah. Yes. But now you have this warm, soft, pliable, chewy thing. The gluten is probably just kicking off, yum, 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 right?
Yes.
And the schmear melts.
Is there a question in there, or is this just a sales pitch?
Well, no, I don't know. I'm excited about it. No, but there's a delta of difference. Like I'm imagining this experience you have when you have this. So, how many day parts are you making these things as? Are you making small batches throughout the day?
So we're primarily one day part. We open our stores at 6:30. We go till about 2.
Okay.
And we are baking all day long. So we start with a very, very small bake in the morning, which gets the kind of like just jump starts that like first customer that comes in the door. We fill some pre-orders or catering in the morning. Right. And then from there, we're just baking almost just in time. So we have our own proprietary technology that we built in-house to allow our bakers to forecast. Well, they don't even have to think about it. It just forecasts the sale of bagels and the bakes. And then they're baking to this system that allows you to walk in the store and get any number of bagels hot at any given time. You can also order your bagels and they'll be hot for you when you get them. It's pretty fascinating. But I think the like that
was Andy Meeks, everybody.
Doing the show live is always entertaining. Andy's the best. When you buy a bagel in a grocery store, it is a little lifeless. Yeah. It's in a plastic bag. It doesn't have the same. I don't know. It's got more stuff. Like our bagels have 5 ingredients. There's no preservatives. You're
worried about shelf stability.
Right? I mean, exactly. You leave it on the counter too long, it's going to turn like any fresh bread. It's going to start to develop mold. It gets, it's a living organism. And so I think our bagels come out of the oven. They're hot. They're chewy. They are a little crunchy on the outside, but they're still soft and delicious. And you get that that first bite feeling.
I just had breakfast. I need a bagel.
It's time.
I gotta wait till you're home. So, Ted,
we're at an event on innovation in franchising. So I'm curious, what do you point to first when you're talking about innovation in your bagels, your brand, and innovation in franchising?
So I think for innovation for us, it's twofold. One, our product bagels have been around forever, right? So it's not an innovative product, but we're innovative with the flavors and the concept and how we're creating this fresh for our customer almost just in time. So we have 16 different flavors every day. One of them is a rotating bagel of the day, constantly changes. Our spreads are all whipped in-house. Also fresh made with fresh ingredients. We have no freezers in our stores at all.
Nice.
So everything that you're going to get is really made for you almost just in time. I think that's innovative in a space where it's still very quick service. You are in and out in 3 minutes. So you're delivering on this expectation of fast, but also really high quality.
Right.
The second piece of it is our technology that we use in-house. Like I mentioned earlier, we built it all from the ground up. The first 3 people we hired were software engineers.
Amazing.
We didn't hire a culinary team. We hired.
We already nailed the bagel, I think.
The bagel we had down pat. But
yeah.
We knew that our customer wanted an experience that was integrated with the technology that they use every day in their life. So we have a customer-facing mobile app that you can order products on. We also built this POS and kitchen display system that was really for us. And that
you made your own POS.
On POS, on kitchen display, everything ground up.
We're in a new world. This is what.
Yeah, he's not worried about SaaS fees.
We are a technology company that masquerades as a bagel shop.
There you go.
So it's pretty insane.
Well, so then thinking about franchising, right, and where we're at right now, the idea of a great franchise system or a great franchisor is here. We have a great product. We have a great set of solutions and processes that if you do these things right, you will be successful. Right. So what is kind of the combination of things that you offer your franchisees to get them going?
We spend a lot of time with our franchisees before they become franchisees. So we're making sure they're the right partner. We aren't selling franchises, we're awarding them.
Oh.
And our goal is to have business owners who believe in the same things we believe in. Bake fresh, bring joy, build community. And if you're doing those 3 things as a business owner in your existing community, and then you can say, hey, I want to be a part of this bagel business, that's usually a great partnership. I think that we then invest in them. We're spending a lot of time training, spending a lot of time coaching, being a part of their business to make sure that they are successful. Because when they move into their community with our, with our brand, they become the representation of that brand. It's no longer Jeff's Bagel Run. It's theirs.
There's a lot of
You know,
mutual
it's
trust
theirs.
going on there.
100%.
Yeah.
And if they're able to carry that culture into their community and in their store, they're going to be more successful. We're going to be successful. Yeah. And we've got SOPs and we've got processes and we've got recipes. We have all that standard stuff.
Right.
But I think really when it comes down to them executing in the store, it's about us being invested in them.
So from the stage and just now, you mentioned community being an important part of how is it one of your pillars, right? And so I'm curious, what's a great example of how one of your franchisees might engage the community and provide that connection and value?
I think it starts with the thing they're passionate about. So for us, I can tell you as the first franchisee, we highly invest in our kids and the things that they're involved in. So we start with schools, PTOs, and our franchisees follow this. Like if you can put a banner up on a school and make a donation or feed teachers or feed the kids, those parents, those kids come back on Saturday and it just right back into your store. I think that we look at it a little more holistically because it's not always about a donation. It's not always about, funding something. Sometimes it's being a place that people can come to and a place that is woven into what the community already is. Yeah. And so a lot of times we're a great place to run into a friend. A lot of times being a part of the community is just opening your door and being welcoming, inclusive, and, seeing the customers and meeting them where they're at.
I imagine that it wasn't always a perfect linear run to where you are now. The founder's journey is a broken road often, right? What were one of the surprises that was a humbling moment or something you really learned from that you didn't know you're coming up against that you had to overcome? Because they're going to be there, even for your franchisees and for anybody doing this kind of work.
And they don't really stop, honestly.
No.
That's part of the fun of doing something that was nothing before.
Yeah.
Everything is a new frontier.
Yeah.
I can speak for me personally that my biggest challenge was overcoming the idea of who I was to the brand. And so while it's Jeff's Bagel Run and my name is Jeff and I did this, I often forget that I'm, the co-founder of this company. I often forget that I own this business. And as that person, other people will often hold a little bit of reverence for you.
Oh, you said that on stage. Whatever you say becomes canon.
Whatever you say becomes canon. And so I think it's really, really important that when you are...
It's okay.
When you are...
I think you're being called to the stage.
I'm being called back. They want me to come back
Or your plane
again.
is leaving.
No, paging Mr. Morrow tomorrow. Anyway, I am the face of the brand. I put myself out there a lot. I do a lot of this. And so the things that I say become part of the culture of the business and the brand that we're running. And so I think for me, the hardest part was realizing that if I say something, if I do something, other people are going to pick up on that.
Yeah.
And they're going to replicate the thing that I do. And if it's not just right, then it becomes a problem for our operators down the road. Yeah. And then this little shortcut that I showed someone becomes the standard operating procedure.
Right.
And that isn't always the way to start growing a brand. So that's been the hardest part for me. And I think that our operators find similarities in that because they become a little version of me in their own space, right?
Yeah.
If you're an owner of a business and you walk in one day a week and you're pointing fingers and scolding your team all day long, they feel like they never do anything right. But if you show up and you're supportive and engaging and asking them how you can improve their life at their job, suddenly becomes a better place to work, better place to visit as a customer.
Culture.
Yeah, 100%.
Love it. Ted?
So from stage, you mentioned the early days of starting Jeff's, getting in a store. There's been some interesting stories that you would have loved the time to share. Pick one, whether it's because it's funny, crazy, something you just people would want to hear.
Oh man. So in in the very early days when Danielle and I were the only two people in the shop. Like, I mean, like for the first 8 weeks of the business, it was just us.
Yeah.
She would run the front counter. I would bake all the bagels, and then we'd roll dough, and it was messy. I mean, it was just hard,
Right.
You're grinding 6-7 days a week. It was not easy. We opened our second store, and when we opened that came with a lot of contention. I think that this is something that a lot of people that start a business don't realize. Running one with two people for my wife and I was easy.
Yeah.
Like, we have our own skill sets, we have our own strengths, our own opportunities, and we offset each
loss
other.
prevention or
We offset each other really well. Yeah, there's a lot of, and then we opened the second store.
Yeah.
And she was like from the beginning, no. And I was like, yes, we have to do this. We got to. And she's like, no. And so ultimately she said, let's do it.
Yeah.
And we ended up buying these assets from another baker, opening our second location and branding it as a Jeff's Bagel Run. And that was the hardest thing that we've ever done. Between splitting our skills apart, each running a store, each having, my high energy in one place and her operational skill set in another. Hard to
Different
switch
results?
those. The results were different for sure.
Yeah.
The teams became different. The teams started to change a little bit.
It's almost like A/B testing.
And it was very difficult for us personally.
Yeah.
Here we were like a great duo.
Now you're
and
running
then
cyclical almost, right?
It was very hard.
Yeah.
So it was probably one of the most challenging parts of our journey through Jeff's Bagel Run. And, we often forget about it because we don't, you block out the things you don't want to remember, the traumatic points in our life. And so I think, for me, it's like a lesson in how do you overcome something that's hard to do.
Yeah.
And, for us, it was fighting through like our relationship personally and professionally. How do you run stores? And, I don't want to say it got easier with 3,
Right.
and 4 and 5 and 6 when we started really scaling in 2024. But having had the experience of that first going from 1 to 2 made 3 and 4 a little bit less of a challenge to when we were butting heads and ultimately she was right.
Yeah.
That's not a bad
that made it a lot easier for me.
Took that decision out of your hands.
Absolutely.
So on that same note, for partners who decide to partner, what's your advice to somebody thinking about going into business with a partner and saying, here you have to leave this at work, leave this part sacred at home? That's got to be a blurred line.
You have to have a short memory.
Oh, okay.
We talk about this a lot, Danielle and I, all the time. You guys work together. People always say you work together. Yeah. You're married. You have kids. You have this business. How do you survive it? And you have a short memory. And if you don't have a short memory and you're holding a grudge against
that axe,
it's just not healthy. And I think that we forget the things that happen at work. We move on.
Yep.
And know that, we start from a place of positive intent, and if you can have disagreements and you can realize that two things can be true at the same time.
Absolutely.
It becomes a lot healthier relationship, a lot healthier partnership. And whether that's in business or personal partner, personal relationships, it's important.
That makes sense. I know we have to land the plane here in a second. We're about 2 minutes over time. I want to make sure we get into your networking.
Yes,
Chad, you have a final question?
It's one of my takeaways. Be a goldfish. Goldfish memory.
Be a goldfish.
Love it. And eat goldfish. Delicious. But on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. We've been here with Jeff Pereira, Jeff's Bagel Run out of Orlando, Florida. He's opening a franchise opportunities across the country, but really it's franchise partnerships, not people that they're trying to sell to, people that will work with them, that will carry the banner, be the great ambassador. I'm really curious what a great franchisee looks like for you, who they are, what they sound like. There's probably a prototype of a person or a couple that will really nail it for you.
I think it's about mindset.
Okay.
I think you have to want to work in the business.
Yep.
You have to want to be a part of your community.
Yep.
And you have to really love bagels.
I imagine you had to be an operator before or some version of that or close to.
If you haven't been an operator in the past or you haven't been an operator in a long time, you need to have someone on your team that is. Because while the concept is simple, you're still working in a bakery. You're still early morning hours. You're still working hard. It's still restaurant work.
Yeah, you're not buying yourself a golden ticket. You have to work.
Correct. You still got to work.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for taking time with us.
Great.
It's been awesome. I'm definitely going to go by your store in Tampa. I'll probably come shooting some content and start sharing it everywhere. My hot, gooey, delicious, smeared bagel experience. You never know. I might make glasses out of things.
Let's go.
Yeah. So for now, it's been Jeff Pereira here, Jeff's Bagel Run. If you want to know more information about their company, what's your website, Jeff?
Jeff'sBagelRun.com.
That's pretty easy. And where
Super
can
easy.
people see you next?
Multi-unit franchising conference in Vegas next week.
Boom.
Let's go.
The quadrifecta. You got the multi-unit, you got the pizza, bar, and restaurant show and shop talk all happening concurrently in
the
Las
best week in
Vegas.
Vegas.
Yes, it is. But for now, this is the Chat GTM podcast signing off. We'll see you guys on the next one. And Jeff, he makes delicious bagels. I'm going to go prove it next week. When I get home, I'll be reporting back on this episode.
I'm jealous.
Take care, guys. We'll see you on the next one.